What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Cassandra, and today we are tackling all of the garden produce that I possibly can. At least that's my goal. Ran my errands this morning, had to run to the farm stand to grab some dill because we're making pickles today. At least that's the hope. I'm starting with my easiest task of the day, which is just blanching off my cauliflower. This is a whole head of cauliflower that came out of the garden. It's been living in my fridge for about a week. We haven't used it. Probably not going to use it anytime soon, so I'm going to blanch this off, get it in the freezer, and task one for the day will be complete. I have all these tomatoes. I'm just going to put the ones that are ripe in the freezer and then finish ripening off the other ones. I'll probably leave one or two in my fridge for fresh eating, but that's that. I'm probably going to freeze most of these and then just throw them in when I do some other canning, pasta sauces, things like that. But here are all our pickles. These need to be dealt with, and then I still have all this dang zucchini. But this is a project for probably another day. I want to deal with this stuff first. Plus, of course, our cauliflower head that's going on here. Here's our beautiful dill from the farm stand. While the baby is taking a little bit of a car seat nap, I'm going to do as much as I can here. I actually didn't clean my kitchen last night, which is terrible to do the day before a canning thing. So before I left to do my errands, I started my dishwasher. I'm going to hand wash these dishes here that I let soak while I was gone. Get these out of my sink, get the pickles in here, get those cleaned off. That is going to be the first step, so let's at least start there. My cauliflower here is just about where I want it to be. The water is just starting to kind of do a light boil, so I'm just gonna give it a little mix, make sure that every piece of cauliflower is actually in the pot here. You only have to blanch this for a couple minutes. Right around 3 or 4, you can use Google or your best judgment. Then I'm gonna put it right back into a Ziploc freezer bag, throw it in the freezer, and it'll be ready throughout the winter. Really easy. Freezing food or freezing produce is really simple. I do the same process with green beans, snap peas, broccoli. I'm really trying to think. You could do it with carrots if you really wanted to, and then enjoy it like you would a typical frozen vegetable that you buy from the store. Blanching helps keep the color and the texture, so it's really up to you. You could skip it if you really wanted to, just wash your produce and put it right in the freezer, but I would highly recommend blanching. It does taste better, it gives you a better product. Oh, I also do this with corn, that's another one. So this is almost done. Our pickles are washed and rinsed. I'm just gonna leave them here, let them drain. I also got our jars prepped, so I'm going to go down my basement, get rings and bands, because I need those. I'm going to start making the pickling liquid here. Do a little bit of grocery shopping for what we need for the pickles. I do dill, garlic, alum, onions. So I'm gonna pull all that stuff out and just start kind of getting everything prepped, because baby is still taking a car seat nap, which is amazing. So let's rock out as much as we can before I have to do this with a baby attached to me. So let's go. I ended up getting the cucumbers washed and just put them up on the counter there. You can see my big old pile. But once I did that, I wanted to go ahead and just rinse out my jars really quick. I wasn't super worried about like heating my jars or anything, because I'm going to be packing hot liquid into them and then putting them into the canner, so the temperature difference won't be too crazy. But that was kind of my thinking there. I did still want to rinse them out a little bit though, just, you know, make sure that everything was clean, making sure that I was taking time to look at each individual jar, checking them for like nicks, cracks, dust, like whatever might have settled in them over the last couple of months while they were sitting on a shelf waiting to be used again. I went ahead and just wanted to get everything that I could prepped while the baby was sleeping and while my older kids were kind of off running around, playing, doing what they were doing, and really just making the most out of my time here. So that was the goal here, just making sure that I could get as much done as I possibly can. I really do have to make the best amount of my time because my 4 kids are home with me all day, at least they are right now. Once the older 2 go back to school, it won't be as crazy or as hectic maybe while I'm canning, because half of my kids will be gone. But that is the reality. Sometimes it is hard to get these projects done when you have 4 kids that also need your attention and your help and things. So everything does get done. It just takes a little bit longer, but I feel like it's important to add that because I'm a normal human too. So things do get difficult at times. Last canning season, I did spears and slices. We have a ton of slices left. I think we already only went through about 2 or 3 jars of those. I'll just come down here for a minute. We have this thing where if you bring up a jar of pickles from the basement, you might as well bring up 2 because you open 1 jar and it's gonna be gone. So 1 jar is for the counter for eating, and then the other one will end up making its way into the fridge for the next time someone opens up a jar of pickles, because they fly in this house. They're one of my kids' favorite snacks. So we're gonna rock out some spears today, pack them in the jars. Maybe I can talk my oldest into coming helping me pack some jars. She did help me last year, so we'll see if that's a thing. So let's get all of our pickles moved over, because our cauliflower on the stove is going to need to be drained. So I want to get the pickles out of the sink and moved over here so that we can finish out that project. Here is our cauliflower. This can be dumped. And I'm just gonna let this sit in the strainer and kind of cool off for a couple minutes before I put it in my Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. Yeah. But now that my stove is empty, I'm going to I'm gonna pull out my water bath canner and then my big pot that I'm gonna use to make the pickle brine in, and get those up on the stove and kind of get that working. At least the canner starting to warm up, and get my pickle brine going. And then we'll start slicing the pickles here, or are about to be pickles, our cucumbers, and our onions. Now typically I use the Ball cookbook dill pickle recipe. It's one of our favorites. It's fantastic. We love that recipe. That recipe also calls for bell peppers. I don't have any bell peppers right now coming out of the garden. I think it's going to be a humble pepper harvest this year. So I do have some that are big enough I could pull off the vine and put in here. But I'm the only one that appreciates a bell pepper in the pickles. And I would rather have my bell peppers for other things over the winter instead of in the pickles. So I'm gonna skip that this year, but last year I put in bell peppers. Highly recommend, they're fantastic. Project 1 is done. I had to take a minute. Baby woke up from a car seat nap, so. But this was able to cool off. I'm filling my water bath canner with water. We're gonna start the pickle brine recipe, get that going, pack jars while that's working for us. This is what I'm using for my dill pickle recipe. Very simple, easy ingredients, easy to pack, which is what I really enjoy. And if you're wondering, this is the book I'm using. I would highly recommend this book. It has problem solving issues, so if you're having an issue with whatever it is, you can look it up in this book and it'll tell you what your problem is and how to fix it. It goes through basic canning procedures for water bath canning and pressure canning. It's a really good book, lots of easy recipes to have in here. So this was my first canning book. I use it every year. I love it a lot. So we're gonna get this out. I have to grab an onion. I'm also putting alum in my pickles. I do that every year. It just keeps the pickles crispy, especially if you're rolling over season to season a couple jars. It keeps your pickles crisp, which is what we enjoy. So I would highly recommend some alum. Super cheap. Got this at Walmart for I think $3. Amazing. This is what I had last year, and I still have over half of this container left. So let's get rocking and rolling. But I guess first I can put my cauliflower in my chest freezer. So we need a cup of canning salt, 2 quarts water, 1 quart vinegar, and while I have vinegar up here, I'm going to put a splash in my canner for my jars. I'm going to get my canner. I'm just going to turn it on low so that it's warm and kind of doing its thing. I'm going to turn this up probably to about a medium heat. You need to get this going until the salt dissolves and everything starts kind of coming together here, and that'll happen while we're packing. I am also on my own tonight because my husband is traveling for work, very last minute, but it does happen sometimes. And I have school orientation tonight for my school-aged kids. So I am going to take, this is completely frozen. I just pulled this out of my freezer, but this is 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm gonna take this, put it right in my crock pot. In a couple hours, I'm gonna take some of this sloppy Joe mix, dump it on top. I'm gonna let my crock pot do the work for me today. And I already have pasta salad that I prepped on Sunday during a Sunday reset. I did film that, but that's already in the fridge, so then later tonight we will have the sloppy joes, the pasta salad that's already in the fridge, and then I picked up a watermelon today at Walmart. I'll give you a little grocery haul here. I had to go to Walmart today because I needed another gallon of milk. I always pick that up in the middle of the month. And then the kids asked for a watermelon, so I got a watermelon, a gallon of milk. I went in there for muffin mixes. These are the kids' favorite blueberry muffins. This is what they wanted for their first day of school breakfast. And then my other daughter picked a lemon poppy seed box. So I could make muffins from scratch. I do that all the time, but we talked about this. These two, they're just better from the box. I don't know what it is, but they are. Then I had to walk past the clearance shelf, and I found all of these delectable sweet Hawaiian rolls. These are slider buns. I thought these would be perfect for school lunch sandwiches. So there's, I don't even know how many, 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 8 in a package. I bought 5 of them. I'm gonna put 4 of these in the freezer for school lunches, and then we'll have this with our sloppy joes tonight. So these are gonna go in the freezer. I wanna show you how easy it is to do these jars. So all I'm gonna do is tablespoon of minced garlic. You can do garlic cloves. You could get those from a farmer stand, or if you grow them yourself. I just do the minced garlic. My father-in-law is partial to whole garlic. He loves it. We're gonna put in half a tablespoon of alum. Then you're gonna take your dill. I'm also holding the baby right now, so you can definitely do this one-handed. I don't know if I could have done this a couple years ago one-handed when I was learning, but after a couple years it does get less, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but you're gonna put in some dill. I find it easier to just pack all this in the bottom of the jar. Then what I'm going to do is, if you were putting in your peppers, you could do that now, but today, because I'm not doing peppers, I'm gonna throw in some onion. Then a tip my father-in-law taught me is to tip the jar down on its side, and then you can get way more pickles in here without having to fight the jar. Don't worry if they're too long, they're coming into your headspace, because I'll show you what we're gonna do with that in a second here. But I'm just going to pack what I can into this jar, still holding a baby, packing pickle jars. That's just what we do here, I guess. But I'm going to shove in all the pickles that I can. Okay, baby, let me put her down. But we're just gonna finish packing this jar. And when I have a little bit of room left, I'm gonna tip it back up. I'm gonna take my knife and just cut around the top of these cucumbers. And I'm gonna take all the little pieces that come off and shove them down into whatever little hole and crevice that I can find until everything is out of my headspace. I like to finish my jars off with a sprig of dill on the top. And then I'm gonna set this aside and pour my pickling liquid over the top of this. So this jar is done. And that's how easy it is to do these in real time. It goes a lot faster if you prep your jars at once. Get everything done all at once. Then you can have your little assembly line here. And then it just goes really quickly. So I'm gonna pack these last 2 jars. I'm gonna have to prep more jars because I definitely have more cucumbers here than I had originally anticipated, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna have to make another batch of brine as well, but once again, that's totally okay because I can make a second batch of brine while these are in the water bath canner. So I just finished packing the rest of the pickle jars exactly the way that I just showed you, and I just wanted to show you guys that it doesn't have to be super complicated and that you also don't have to process 100 jars in a day to make a difference. I did 11 jars here today. It took me a little bit because I was on my own. My husband was at work and I was juggling the 4 kids, but it still got done. It was still okay. I still was able to prep dinner, go to school orientation, and clean my kitchen. So it can be done. And sometimes it's just about worrying about getting the jars done and not really worrying about all the other things that maybe seem important. Like, who cares if my kitchen hadn't gotten cleaned that night? As long as I got done what I was able to get done that day, I can always set a second day aside to finish up any project. So I've kind of learned that mindset makes it the difference here. And also, I was carrying Cleo around most of this afternoon, which is totally fine. My kids were really cooperative, so I thought it was important to include that just because it is real. I am currently packing round 2 of pickles here. Still doing it one-handed, but that is okay. I was able to pack another 4 jars, and then 3 of my kids just devoured some of these cucumbers, so I'm not gonna have any more, but I'm secretly okay with that. So I'm going to finish packing these jars, and then we will run a second time through the canner. My first round of pickles is actually still in the canner. I turned the heat up on my stove a little bit so that we could get those rocking and rolling, because Cleo is going to nap soon and I do have to, like I said, go to school orientation tonight. I want to leave here for that at around 3:30. It is currently 12:30, so I'd love to be able to get these finished and the kitchen reset a little bit while the baby naps and before I go to orientation. That way when I come home, in theory, I will be done for the day. I still have to put tomatoes in the freezer, which is no big deal. That's not going to take long. I'm very happy I planned ahead, and I have pasta salad in the refrigerator and the sloppy joes going in the crock pot. I have not touched my meat in the crock pot since we put it in there. So once I get things rotated a little bit, I'm going to just break apart the meat in the crock pot a little bit so it cooks faster. But right now we're just waiting. I have these here. Let's put this one over here too. So these 4 are packed and ready to go in the canner. The leftover pickle brine, I'm going to save. I'm just going to put this in like a gallon mason jar. And in a couple days, if I have to make another batch of pickles, I'll have this pre-made. I won't reuse this if it's more than a week from now. But if I use it within the next week, my saying is that it's good to go. We're in the process of finally rotating things. These went for 15 minutes. I took the top off my water bath canner, turned my stove off. These have been sitting for a little bit while I emptied the dishes, got them in the dishwasher, and started to clear off the counters here. I still have to put the dill away and wipe off the counters, but we're getting there. Don't even ask me about my floors because they're nasty. So I am going to take these out of the canner now, wipe everything off, and get my floors swept. I just laid Cleo down for a nap about 10 minutes ago. So as long as I can get the floor cleaned up before she wakes up and is going to want to crawl all around, I'll be happy, just because I don't want her. I have like little pieces of onions that fell on the floor and some cucumber bits, so I'm going to get everything picked up. That way she's not putting anything in her mouth. And I have about 2 hours until I have to leave for school stuff. So everything is doable. Our sloppy joes are going great. I'm gonna lower I think I'm gonna let this water cool a little bit longer just because I want my jars and my water to be closer to the same temperature because these have been sitting for a while. If these were freshly packed hot, like the first cans were that went in the canner, I wouldn't worry about it as much, but these have cooled off quite a bit. So I'm gonna let this water cool off a little bit. You know what I think I'm gonna do is actually add in some cool water to this. That way I can just kind of cheat the system a little bit and get this done a lot quicker. I want to deal with these tomatoes super quick. So as my tomatoes have been coming in from the garden, I've just been putting them in these, or in this bag, and then I put this whole thing in the freezer. When I go to make sauce or anything like that, I'll just rinse these off in warm water and the skins come right off, which is awesome. So I have this bag here of tomatoes from my mother-in-law, and I'm going to just put them in here, at least the ones that are ready. I'll probably save 1 or 2 of them for fresh eating. I'll just put those in the fridge, but everything else I'm going to put in here. And then the ones that aren't ready, like some of these that are still ripening, I'm just going to put them back in the bag and let these ripen, and when they're ready I'll throw them in this bag too. That way when I go to make anything, go to can something, I have these tomatoes, because right now it's not like I can just go out to the garden and pick a whole bushel and then come in and make something. I have a couple tomatoes every single day, so. Okay, this is ready to go in the freezer. This project is also done. I went ahead and got all of my cherry tomatoes at least in a gallon size bag and in the fridge and out of that little paper bag and off of my floor. So that's gonna be good enough for today. If I decide that I need to freeze those, I'll just take that whole bag, put it right in the freezer if they start to get kind of funny on me. And I also dug through my big gallon or 5-gallon bucket and found some peppers and some broccoli. I put that in this bag that has green beans and peas in it. Our sloppy joes are now sloppy joes. Got my buns out here, so this is done, and our last round of pickles here are done. So I'm going to turn off my canner, let these sit in here just for a couple of minutes, and then I'll pull them out and add them over here. I am noticing that this jar hasn't sealed yet, everything else did. If this doesn't seal, I'll just put it in the refrigerator. We'll let it sit for, I don't know, a week or 2. We'll open up, bust into it, and eat it. It's not gonna be an issue for me if that's the case. Everything else sealed, still waiting for these guys, and it could be a possibility that this jar will seal later tonight or even into tomorrow morning. I'm gonna let these sit until tomorrow. Probably tomorrow around dinner time, I'll label them with the year and then get these downstairs on the storage shelf. But that is pretty much that. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me in my homestead kitchen today, handling the biggest amount of produce that has come through the kitchen thus far today. I would have loved to get my food processor out and really process that whole pile of zucchinis, but because I have orientation tonight, it's just not the day for it, and I'm gonna count it as a win. Baby is still napping, my kitchen is clean, my dishwasher is loaded, I have dinner done and in the crock pot. We got our pickles done, the cauliflower done, we handled all of our tomatoes, and plus some like other random produce that we had. All of that is a win, 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 win. The only thing I have left are that big pile of zucchinis. Sometimes you gotta take what you can get. I'm thinking about making a zucchini pickle relish. Thinking about maybe trying that and seeing how that goes. Canning that up just in my pickle recipe and canning it in my water bath for 15 minutes like I would pickle relish. I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe doing that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I will catch you guys next time. Don't try it anything, so I'ma just get buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me.